I'm turning on the camera.
Order. T. Warming. Relations. Oil.
So now it's warming.
Get ready for this.
Jeron.
You were wrong, Jeff.
Conceded extra topicality, which is an independent voting issue, allows us to spike out of independent solemnity, and it's also a voting issue for jurisdiction. If any part of the plan takes out the resolution, then you not have the jurisdiction to vote for the conceded. The app includes things like project selection and legislative assistance, which is all of the part of the affirmative at the BCC. They have no new 1AR answers. This flag is an independent voting issue. In the 1 and C, no new answers. The argument of tech expertise does not get them out of this argument. Our argument is not related to tech since the warming advantage. It's inevitable. Immediate cessation emission would not be sufficient to resolve the impact of warming. We're past the tipping point that July 30-year time grab, then solving warming, any effects take that Walker King 2008 changing, climate resource next decade, no matter what we do, now the ocean has spilled in like a deep time, so the ocean rapidly second generated by heat full back won't develop in decades, centuries, whatever we do now will change several decades. How it is her only argument is that he only extends the Morgan evidence. This evidence is 9 years old. Come on, it indicates that in 2009, this evidence is 4 years old from 2009. It indicates that we needed to solve warming. Then the app has a massive time frame. They have to innovate, and innovate cost. That will take independently probably a couple of years. Their Harris evidence indicates the plan would take 5 years to deploy internationally. That is in Mexico, in border communities. Not, it would obviously take much longer to spread to other countries and not for other countries to implement it in their private sector, which means the app is massively insufficient. The China debate, the 2AC does not have a coherent answer to this argument. Her only argument is tech sharing. Yes, I agree, they want your technology, but they cannot structurally use it. There are too many issues with their energy sector. It's incapable of adopting sustainable energy policies. They're understaffed and lack resources. None of the institutions that can model the U.S. or Mexico, which is first and turning less down to. If the 1AR does not get new answers, her only warrant here is tech sharing. Hold the 1AR to that. If they do not solve China, they don't solve warming. To all intent, China's rapid growth in carbon dioxide plus 30% within 2 decades in parallel deep emissions reduction by industrials and nature to save the world. Now, the tech transfer debate first is that they don't have a piece of evidence that indicates climate agreements would be effective. Empirically, they are not. Things like a Kyoto, a Copenhagen, and the Cancun talks all prove that countries like China and the United States are not willing to cooperate over things like renewable energy. There's no reason why the affirmative would be different. They have a piece of internal link evidence that indicates Mexico can introduce climate agreements, not that they would be effective, which means there's a very low risk of an internal link. The Miller evidence extended. The Mexican renewables should be solved the impact. Any answer they made this argument disproves their spillover claims because other countries should have already adopted the technology. The evidence doesn't make a distinction. Mexico has empirically had massive investment in winning geothermal energy. If their argument is that Mexico needs technical expertise, if the technology exists now, then other countries should have used it. Other countries probably don't need U.S. technical assistance. Their evidence is only in the context of Mexico. They're on the verge of a green revolution now. Patrick in 11, Mexico is on the verge of a solar wind revolution. Today's sponsored subsidies for federal regulation, advanced industry, to significance for relative progress in short time to foregone climate and depending on fossil fuels is inevitable. Then Mexico will be compelled to any sort of way to renewable energy. Now the next argument is that extinction. They're saying that their argument is that they're key to adaptation. This is obviously bullshit, proven by cross-section. When she just says we need to build roads, obviously we can do that now. Our argument is that adaptation in biotic systems are resilient. By top biologists and climate science agree that there's no scientific basis for wide-level extinction threat. There have been instances of temperature change in both the rate and magnitude of predicted warming levels. Biotic communities felt no effect. That's the NIPC evidence now. The ASO evidence is terrible. It just indicates warming could undermine economies. They don't have a piece of evidence that describes what the impact of warming would be on biotic communities. The 1AR does not give a new argument to this. They have conceded terminal defense. Now the app doesn't solve oil. That was 1AC cross-sex there. A piece of wood evidence indicates renewable energy will not be competitive absent oil. It says the dominance of oil undermines development of renewable energy, which means there's no risk that the affirmative solves. Now Latin America won't adopt renewable energy. Multiple warrants first that they're not economically viable in the poorer developing countries. Oil is abundant in many Latin American countries, and the infrastructure is already in place to extract the wind and solar are cost competitive. That's the Myson Crumple evidence. Now renewables do not solve. They don't displace fossil fuels. They just supplement them. This cuts our chains of accident and emission reduction internally. Each unit of renewable production displaces only a quarter unit of fossil fuel. That's the Angus evidence. Now the relations page. The U.S. economy is high now, which means there's only a risk of our unique internal link turn. It's high and resilient. Consumer confidence is evidence. The biggest indicator of the economy accounts for 70% of growth. That's the AP evidence. There are multiple causes to their internal link to the economy. Their evidence cites things like production, employment, and the European economy. Obviously, the act does not resolve any of these. There are peace, economy, internal link evidence. It's just a bunch of rhetoric and does not indicate any way they would be able to overcome any of these causes outlined in their July evidence. Now, now status quo solved that. Bucket 628. Continue great things for the overall economy, continue to decline to the national employment rate, consumer confidence, which accounts for 70% of the economy, and may purchase no income advancement. However, punctured improving this month, rating over 12 months through April, rising real estate values are helping offset a sharp and drop market, improving now, larger 71 total in employment, domestic market increase represent more jobs than average April Americans, more evidence about the economy than before the session. Now, the cooperation debate, I'll concede that there's no cooperation now. The Brazil debate, no, their self-started the link debate, extended our critical evidence indicates the decline of U.S. influence structurally enabled Brazil to increase the climate, which means there's a massive trade-off. Their evidence only speaks to U.S. perception of Brazil, not the other way around. It means massive risk of this link argument. Here's more evidence. U.S.-Mexican relations counter Brazilian influence and China support Brazil. Presenting 12 winning relationship partner Mexico to participate in realignments. Last economic finding Mexico have constructively compete with Brazil for cooperative regional leadership. Brazil and China have longing to force a strategic partnership. Brazil is America's rising spoiler. Sabatini and Berger 12, the countries' emerging economies appear to take the position of post-United Brazil voice opposition in French will be a leading a rising spoiler at a time of declining U.S. influence. Now, there is an impact of food shortage. Brown evidence indicates it causes instability and resource wars. Now, their bees evidence is just brink for us and proves our argument. Their evidence is in the context of U.S. food production and why bees are going to mess that up. That proves our internal link. Our swag evidence indicates that Brazil is key to international food stability, which means that obviously solve this argument now. They say relations solve Brazil and Sino cooperation. There's no impact extended this argument. The biofuels debate. Status quo solves the Amazon impact that touched our and violence 12 that Brazil broke historically deals with dramatically lowering Amazon deforestation, dropping deforestation coincided with economic changes that have enhanced a larger activity for Silva, pricing developed plants where deforestation companies that force processing incentives for conservation of industry companies create a coalition to actually push for government strategy Ministry of Defense to overcome opposition. Now this turns all of the case. Brazil is maintaining Latin American stability now. Attachment 12, the United States and providing security complementary stability during the development of institutions successful generating public goods is generating confidence. Brazil is taking steps towards autonomy. The region Brazil is also boasting security. Brazil solves Amazon deforestation is key to solve warming. Swagging 10 Brazil on the playing in French world. The international change company has become an area of Brazil's clean energy into a significant international way ship opinion open roads races stewardship of Amazon. Atomic Time Brazil's plan outlines is trying to eliminate average deforestation now. There's no impact to Latin American instability. Hard evidence cites 14 instances of empirical Lander Washington. Then evidence is from 1994. This indicates that declining U.S. influence could conflict them overwhelmingly empirically not the economy. There's no impact to the economy. All their household evidence assumes we're translated empirically denied by 2008. We still have strategic military capabilities from before the Barnett financial crisis proved that there's no impact on economic plan. There's no ripple in cooperation with the security landscape. That's the Barnett debate. Now, the Mexican drugs debate. They read one piece of evidence. This indicates it costs $1 billion per year. We access a much larger internally to the economy. Drugs are vital to it. Ace appointees, it brings up to $40 billion per year. That's more than oil exports. Mexico's largest legitimate foreign currency. With Ace appointees invested into legitimate economy. Cartels put money into restaurants, construction firms, the house market. Proud of those Ace appointees. Banking profits are put in the banking system, generating valuable liquidity during financial crisis. That turns the case. Banks are key to finance clean tech. Actually, scratch that. Loss of drugs would shrink the economy by 63% grade 10 day. Mexican drug has been disrupted. Drug trade disruption. Reveal depends on drug trade. Loss of drugs would shrink by 63%. Cartels made 3 times profit. 500 largest companies. Now, there's no impact here that Ace evidence concludes negative indicates that it's very unlikely for retaliation. Powell evidence indicates that DHS monitoring solves the border security in the status quo.
First card, Walker and King. Where does this card say 30 years time?
It says several decades.
It says the following facts will be felt for decades to centuries.
Yeah.
But that's in the context
30 years is a several decades.
That's in the context of like the ocean having a built-in lag and
yeah.
Heat up. Where does this
30
card
years
say
is several decades.
Where does this card say several decades prevents solving warming?
Whatever we do now to change will take several decades to have any effect.
Okay, you make a lot of arguments about why we don't access a sufficient time from like innovation.
Yeah.
Do you read a piece of evidence that speaks to that nonsense?
I don't need to because you don't.
Okay, Downs evidence. This card says that things like a fractured governance prevents Mexico from adopting new renewable energy policies.
The Downs evidence is about China.
Yes, the fractured Chinese government prevents them from adopting policies. What about fragments in governments prevents them from accepting like technology?
They can accept technology. Our argument is that we do not have the structure to implement it effectively.
Why would regulations be a hurdle to like using?
Well, I mean, if you know anything about China's economy, it's heavily regulated, which means to introduce things like
Catching evidence. They're already on the verge of
argument is that if the technology only needs to exist, that's sufficient to solve your spread internally. Only Mexico needs expertise, other countries can just use
So
the tech.
Latin America won't adopt argument. You say that these countries have the ability to extract oil. Do you have a piece of evidence that countries such as Venezuela, etc., have the ability to refine their oil?
That's not our argument. Our argument is that because of oil infrastructure is so heavily developed now, those countries which are poor do not have an incentive to switch.
Why would countries that depend on oil for things like exports and economic growth not have an incentive to switch their economies relying on things like that?
It's a question of A, capability. A, they're poor. Our evidence says they do not have the capacity to develop
So
new
it's just a question
infrastructure.
of cost.
B,
Brazil food stability. I'm moving on. Brazil food stability. You said, why is Brazil key to global food? Is the argument that like you would not have
they're key to international food stability. That's our one and Z.
Yeah, can you read me a line from your internal link as to why there would be like no other ways to protect this food insecurity?
Sure, let me pull up the one.
Because that card doesn't really say.
Yeah, it does.
Can you read? Okay, that's fine. Question about your.
Brazil will play a fundamental role in ensuring international food security.
That's cool. Okay, question about the Brzezinski evidence on the Brzezinski evidence you read on Brazil.
I didn't read that card.
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay, yeah, that piece.
That piece of evidence. Yeah. Okay. U.S.-Mexico
There are two in
relations
it.
on Brazil influence or China support for Brazil. Where does this card say anything about how U.S.-Mexico relations counter China support?
The evidence makes the argument.
The only mention of China in this card says Brazil and China have long been trying to forge a strategic partnership. Where does this card say anything about
That's
U.S.?
fine. We're going to take one second. Okay, it's fine. 8 seconds. Oil, K, politics.
Digging this block strap. Digging this block strap.
Oh my gosh, I just want my internet to work. Is your internet going off?
I gave up.
Ugh. Oh, I'm thinking about having a flash drive though. That's always exciting. Yeah, I don't know if
Are you guys ready?
Oh, internet. But not a flash drive. So close. Jeron, email it to me too. I know, my computer doesn't recognize flash drives. What if I plug 2 in and just like try to overload it on flash drives? That's not gonna work.
Alright. Anyone not ready?
The oil decide we're not going for it. You should have answered the turn space over now. It's also allowed into the case a flood would undercut investment and research into alternative energy sources. We will concede show makes the flood inevitable. Your piece of internal defense just says there's no political will for the flood. Obviously the link would disprove this. We will concede the Russian economy is zero. Which do not have any offense, but they just said still need to know solve your wrath. The critique we're not going for display interpretation test the intrusiveness of the link to confirm we don't have any offense. Conditional, they get real. We have one conditional option. Our time interpretation we get one conditional option. That's all cost of labor often CBA, only orange patient dollars, true cost of jobs incorporated, all the cost of doing the plan, negative flexibility, only conditionality, access to test the firm control, access to education a little more, and a single day right away. Right there, this topic is also different to error. Negative no linking, linking against we have to challenge after much of our standpoint, they try to do, we can still cost player offense with disposition of this, this was solves its condo, and a cost to get really, policy said this out, in terms of case India relations are key to every extension that they said the purposes of solving war money, because India is one of the largest countries they have also conceded. India relations solves South Asian stability, that goes nuclear shaper. In 2002, Washington increased in Indian votes and specific nations. U.S. proclamations included president China, with the region shared rapidly strong position Hong Kong, future nuclear tension has benefit both countries are perks and improved solution with India. This also solves warming Herman in 2009 virtual drive the green revolution, much the clean tech and volatile as overseas expanding or consecutive G1 program through U.S. immigration rates where immigration to the preference attraction retentions scarce high intel the immigrants quitted green currencies creates a distance for immigrant source to be more permanent state helps explain what is so much talent and immigrants in a way and immigration working Americans immigrants are emerging behavior of America's quest for class energy technology now be about their piece of impact defense syndicates investment is causing relation and relation to be resilient. We disagree early times having said Hitty and that those relations are declining the status quo support thesis policies here's commercial cause 11 CNOs and just 12 USC's has heard Indian two representative consistently take issues with USC Indian professional working with this having the cornerstone of Indian race relation hiking visa fees undermine the pillar of growth of US Indian relations have recent visa fees is not a concept thrown by testing road or essential piece of the world of the H1B visas are the linchpin economic times in 2019 status quo US Indian rates capital skill visas for skilled workers in industry in the world US research and professionals behind industry has effectively functioning when it comes to USC it was talking boost government issue a possible increase in capital figures now they say well no linking uniqueness we default to issue specific uniqueness current political conditions all their linking uniqueness evidence we have evidence that consider as passing now though aid is also decreasing now zero since 2060 by 2013 4 by 800 the dollar trade since the Latin America received nearly 99% since the region of Mexico would see large absolute declines and since the evidence is also all rejected because recency is critical in this type of argument also just proves the link is a GOP when it see the export barrels putting initially this evidence is talking about the merited issue which obviously does not incorporate renewables now they say it's not going to pass it will pass Senate momentum and GOP stronger and improve that's the piece of Steve Evans evidence is absolutely awful cross definition proves it was just speaking to your concerns you're behind with parts of the bill it's not concluded it is not a default to conclude so it is their evidence is not predicted because it's not saying it will kill the deal now here it's more of compromise and all these answers all of their warrants purpose and making optimism as it's overhaul international and national makers so it's going pretty well March it's going to be engagement with close making warning the White House so White House full of action bitter encouraging House House immigration vote House no key senators are leveraging the House people so mentioned Leah says the immigration coalition will test the Senate sweep bill or these Democrats work with House and Lee will vote by rogue on immigration now they say opportunity cost LOL first multiple interpretation of the other funding she makes House counterfeiting strong violence and crossed by their office one other proves negative strategies to large interpretation is just a policy in this or obvious success in the political limitation law the affirmative passing this sense of their is not real well the judge not the USFG informed citizenry regarding political trade-off consequences being a more relevant consideration that they cause real confusion no reason why their education code called role playing by the federal government is going to have more real interpretations though